Greg Nelson here with In the Clinch with Team Academy, where we tackle and grapple everything martial arts. First and foremost, we want to give all our props. First, ThaiBoxing.com, Inasanto.com, PedroSauer.com, EricPaulson.com, and ZebraAthletics.com, where we get all of our mats, wall pads, cage panels, heavy bags, everything. And, of course, the Academy, MN.com. Today we're going to talk about training around and with injuries and kind of the difference between pain, being sore, hurt, and injured, and how to deal with it.
Yeah, so, from a instructor or coach's perspective, you hear these guys, well, I had to take last week off because I sprained my ankle, or you have people that have totally ruptured their Achilles too. So how do you guys think about what's the line between, I guess, being hurt and being injured?
Well, I'd say that the injured is actually where you are going to physically impair your body if you keep training, where there's actually going to be more physical damage done if you continue to train. If you're hurt or if you have pain, that's kind of normal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you can't move something, like you honestly can't, like that's an injury compared to, just it hurts a little. There's definitely stuff you can get around.
It's a fine line. How do you know when it's injured to the point where you shouldn't move it? Because I feel like people are at this point, sometimes people are a little bit overly cautious.
Yeah. I mean, that's
says the guy who has overtraining syndrome.
Yeah,
well,
not anymore.
It's true, though. If we look back when we were coming up and training, we trained through damn near everything.
Too much.
I mean, bronchitis, get in there, start training.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, torn cartilage in your knee, get in there, train.
Mm-hmm.
Ruptured nut, get in there, train.
Didn't matter.
Think about Sean Shirk when he had his fight with Kenny Florian 10 days before that fight. Tears his labrum. Mm-hmm. Now you got to think, what is the ultimate situation that you're training for? He knew that he probably wasn't going to get another chance for a world title. So he fought that fight with a totally torn labrum in his shoulder and could hardly do anything at all with that right arm before going into that fight.
Yeah.
And basically tried to lie his way through it and said he had a cortisone shot in his knee and all this stuff so no one would find out. But, of course, they found out.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because once he got in there, the adrenaline was pumping, and then he went and got surgery 4 days afterwards.
So that was worth it.
Yeah, and that was worth it because it was a world title, in one of the biggest organizations in the world, and he'd already had one chance, and he was already dealing with multiple injuries. His hips were bad, his shoulders are bad, his elbows are bad.
The majority of people are not going to be willing to sacrifice their joints and their body,
I mean, that's a testament to what people can do if properly motivated, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. And that's the thing. It has to be a smart thing that you're going to be sacrificing for. If you're going to sacrifice your ability to walk with comfort in your future life, hopefully it's worth it.
Yeah, it's something like the UFC championship or like an NCAA championship or a judo Olympic medal or something along those lines.
Or the fact that you just want to be really, really, really good at what you do. And so you just keep training because you want to continue to excel and you're willing and ready to deal with what may come.
I feel like you can work around a lot of things too.
Yeah.
You can do things in other areas to benefit yourself without furthering that injury. And I think a lot of people don't do that when they could.
Yeah, there's tons of workarounds.
For sure.
I remember when I initially partially tore my MCL, ACL, and rips and cartilage in my knee, 1986, I crutched down to the collie group from the University of Minnesota and trained on speed bag and heavy bag.
But you weren't hurting your knee that way.
No, but I crutched for like 4 miles from Dinkytown.
That might not have been so good.
and because I wanted to train.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go there. And for me, there was also I don't know if you call it psychological, whatever it was, but I had to show that, hey, doesn't matter. You get in and train.
The problem is the small things can be an excuse. Oh, I can't train because my foot.
That's the hard part, though, is that you're trying to figure out, like, am I just being weak or is this serious? People sit there and grapple with that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I found out when I went to Thailand is that, hey, they're human. They injure their shins. They hurt their feet. They get tweaked muscles and everything else, and they work around it. If their shin got injured in a fight, they do a lot of knees and elbows in boxing. Yeah. If their right shin got hurt, they don't kick with their right leg.
Yeah.
They kick with their left leg, and they work around it. But the one thing that the Thais do, which we could really benefit from, is they take time to get massages all the time. They massage each other. They work that out. Do a lot of stuff like that, which a lot of people here I don't think take advantage of.
No, but what do you think about the modern sort of foam rolling and lacrosse ball type stuff?
It's great.
I mean, it seems like it's a similar kind of idea. About
people swear by it.
Yeah, everything I've seen seems to help people.
Do any of you guys do that?
Yep. I got the hypersphere.
I don't. Do you?
I love the hypersphere.
Injured. Yeah.
You know, because I have, various tweaks throughout my body. Yeah. You know, neck hurts sometimes, and my shoulders, and my back.
The hypersphere.
Yeah.
That sounds
That
cool.
thing's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you put the motor on, and it just really deep rubs into your
vibrates.
muscle. Yeah,
that thing's
super
nice.
Deep. So, I think it's great as far as just being able to self-massage yourself with not worrying about, doing anything weird, because it's just a ball that vibrates, right? You're not doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm all into that stuff for sure.
I think it depends on the injury, though. I know there's certain injuries where massaging it doesn't really do anything, or it
make it worse.
Yeah. So you have to make sure somebody's told you, don't do this or do this, and an experienced coach or a doctor or someone who can actually lay it out.
Well, I think there's a lot of trial and error involved too. The longer you train and the more mature you get, you kind of know when your brain is hitting that overtraining zone, and you'll wake up in the middle of the night, with anxiety and tons of energy, and your body doesn't know which way is up and which way is down.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize
sick
that.
a lot.
I do think as you get older, you have to pay more attention to those little injuries.
Yeah,
because they turn into something bigger.
Yeah.
Where when I was younger, I felt like I could really work around everything, and now I take more time off if I have some type of injury.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you guys? Can you think of any people? There's a lot of people who can't even train anymore, right? And but they've sacrificed a lot. They've won their titles and championships. But there's also people who have trained their whole life. Who do you admire more, and why?
Well, for me, I would think about the person who's trained their whole life, but also has contributed. Mm-hmm. Like for me, Guru Dan, think about it.
Yeah,
that dude was almost wheelchair bound in the mid-90s because his back was so wrecked from being thrown by all those C-Lot guys and he was the fall guy for everybody. And so, eventually he started doing jiu-jitsu because Eric Paulson said, well, he used to do jiu-jitsu, and then Machado Higgin, I think it was, would not let him get off his back for a year, just shrimping and moving around. And this is live right now. And and he just had him work. And what happened was, before everything was one-sided, and now when he's shrimping right and left and doing all these drills, he started to straighten out his spine and get it back to normal. And then he continued to train. And now he's in his 80s, and he's still doing privates with Cambodian kickboxers and doing jiu-jitsu privates and working camps and continually training. To me, man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anybody that can do what he's doing at his age. What is he, 80?
81 or something like that. I don't even know.
That's the hard part, because I feel like we see these mental giants that can just keep going, and then other people, like you said, that just can't. I can't tell what's all. Is it all mental? Is it luck? Are some people just not making it? Like, what is it?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Well, I think people ultimately. There's some people that could continue training, but they'd have to alter their mentality. Sean Shirk being a great example. His gear was either you're going fast or you're fighting. I mean, he trained at full speed.
Yeah.
And he was really controlled. You never had to worry about him. But he trained at full speed. All his shots were at full speed. His combinations were at full speed. He was pushing the envelope all the time.
Tough to give that up after.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden to say, okay, now we're just going to slow it down and just go slow and just hang out and do it. That's where you're either, like in his case, he was a competitor.
Yeah.
He was a competitor, and that's what he loved. He loved the competition. He loved the fighting. He loved the training for the fight. But he may not have been a martial artist in the sense that he loved the martial arts for self-perfection. You know, and there's a difference. And that's where I think you have kind of that self-perfection where you're getting into training methods and all sorts of different parts of the physical, mental, aspects of martial arts. And then you have that competitive part where it's about the fight. It's about training hard, about pushing your limits and then going beyond and getting yourself physically and mentally tougher because you know you're going into a battle and you're potentially going to get really hurt. So you have to really push and you have to imitate that fight just to the point where it's the fight. And at the same time, not get injured. And that's tricky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, really difficult. It's one of the more really difficult things as far as like you said, like training at that intensity. So do you recommend not doing that then? Like probably not, right? Like not every day, all the time.
Well, I tell you right now what's happening, this is kind of major camp wide. They're not sparring like they used to.
Yeah.
It used to be full out sparring and, you're getting head trauma constantly. Now there's a lot more timing sparring. There's a lot more, drills where they're going back and forth, glove drills. There's a lot more where they're doing more, body boxing instead of going after the head and head hunting because it's just, they've proven it's just not good for your brain.
Mm-hmm. You learn longevity will be there if you're doing it a little bit easier.
And you know what I tell the guys here? If you already know that you can take a shot, why do you got to test it over and over?
What for? Yeah.
That's really why I used to spar when I'd get ready. It was like, okay, I got to get ready to take that shot. And then once you've taken a few shots, you're like, all right, good to go. I can just train now.
Yeah, I know a lot of fighters that were able to slow spar the majority of their career because they just knew as soon as I get hit, it's on. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Thai boxers.
Well, yeah.
I feel like we didn't spar much near the end of my fighting.
No.
We did Thai pads and
it was playing,
drills.
Lots of playing.
Right.
And at that point, I think you had developed enough skill and you knew your ability to take a shot.
You know you can get hit.
Right. And so there's no reason to test it. Like people are like, I got to make sure I can take a shot. It's like, really? You haven't figured that out yet?
That's actually limiting your ability to take a shot.
Right, yeah, exactly.
More higher risk of injury.
Yeah.
And then you're injured, and then the next day you're trying to come in and get something out of your training session, but you really can't because
if you're all get flashed when you're training, and then,
So, there's value there at first, like do it once or twice or do a smoker and just kind of feel it. But then after that, once you've felt it, it's time to chill out and
save that time for the ring.
Yeah, save it for the ring, exactly.
Or the cage.
The only time I would probably encourage a really hard session if someone had a real huge break between fights. 6 months or whatever. It's like, okay, we're gonna set a date and we're gonna spar hard. And I want you to train for it like it's a fight.
Yeah.
And so you get ready for it and you don't have to go like 10 rounds.
Right.
Just do it like the fight. Okay, we're gonna timing spar, now we're gonna have a couple hard rounds. And the thing is trying to control and trying to slow down those younger fighters who want to, like we were, at one point, we were guns a-blazing. And so it's like, okay, guess what? We've learned some stuff and we've evolved and we've found out that, continual damage to your body, brain, and, your heart basically, because man, when you come in and you're not feeling good, and you've been beaten down, and you got your bell rung, it's like your motivation is not there to train either, because you're like, man, this is just hurt.
I feel like that's where those people need to trust you too. Like everyone under you, it's like, just listen to me. You don't need to be doing this. And if they don't trust you and they're so gung ho that they're just not listening, like their just careers are going to be shorter.
Yeah, and we've had fighters where that's happened, where at one point in time they were able to basically be hit in the head with a sledgehammer and keep going, and then all of a sudden that neurological switch flipped off.
Yeah.
And then after they got hit, it was like, bleep, the knees would go, and they'd be on the deer legs. And it's like, time to give it up, time to shut down, time to just train.
Enough concussions.
Yeah, it's not good.
So, what do you think the best advice to give somebody out there who's dealing with injuries or one major injury or a set of injuries? Like, what do you guys like to tell students?
Just take your time. That's what I like. You have all your life. You can just take your time and don't stop. You can recover things. There's tons of recovery activities that you can do to keep going, and everybody can help you. It's not something that you have to blitz. You know, you go to bench press 400 pounds. That's your goal. You put on 150 first, and you work your way up to 4. You don't just put on 4.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like you just take your time and get there.
Protect that wherever the injury is, and train the other parts of your body as best you can.
Yeah, I think it's what kind of workaround can you find? What can you do to keep motivated and keep training without injuring?
And if it is your brain, take a day off.
You got to take some time off.
It's going to be frustrating.
Go to the movies.
But just
do whatever.
go to the movies.
And I think, too,
flowers.
age is a factor. When you're younger, you can take more. You know, I this is funny because I had some of the high school wrestlers, and they're like, oh, I got aches and pains. And I just was like, I just wanted to slap them upside the head. Because it's like, that's normal. You're pushing yourself in a wrestling context. Nobody's broken here. So I texted Nina. I said, hey, Nina, could you send me just a list of your injuries when you're doing gymnastics? And she literally maybe missed just a number of meets. But she goes, growing pains in my knees, tendonitis in my foot, broke both pinky toes, a couple of middle toes, Seaver's disease, broken dislocated pinky, 3 stress fractures in my back, strained muscles, tendons in my elbow, ruptured Achilles, a couple of sprained ankles, and in between everything, of course, all the rips, tears, and bruises.
Yeah.
And she just kept going. And sometimes she probably should have stopped because she had broken toes, but she didn't want to miss out on competition.
Well, she was never sedentary.
No.
And kids now don't do anything but play video games.
Yeah. So they're soft. And there's a fine line. You just don't want to be a knucklehead and a knuckle dragger. But at the same time, you don't want to just be this soft body, the white underbelly of society where you just can't even function. And that's what's kind of happening.
Video games are really causing a problem.
So now think about this. Sure. I mean, just by doing that, you're now increasing your ability to get hurt on simple things like just falling down because your body's so soft.
Reaching for the Doritos. Yeah. Trip and fall.
So, I mean, there's a time and place, but I think age is a factor about being able to train harder.
Indeed.
And being able to work through more stuff. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if you're competitive and you have some serious goals and you understand your body, I think, you know when maybe enough's enough and you got to slow down. Or you have to be smart enough to listen to those people around you and say, hey, why don't you take a day and just relax, do nothing, and it's going to benefit the rest of the week. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's my suggestion too. Like as far as like coaching, they have to trust you so you can say, this pain is fine. Just don't worry about it. This is totally normal. And if you treat it as normal, then they usually will. It's kind of like training a dog. Like just you treat it totally normal and it's fine, and they just keep going. And then there's a certain point where it's like, no, that's not normal. Go home. Right?
Yeah, take a day off, and they're like, oh, okay, he knows, or they know, and I can trust them.
Right.
And then I can relax. So you have to be able to trust your coach.
And then on the opposite end, it's like, where were you yesterday?
Yeah.
I decided to just take a day off. Really?
No.
You're not training that hard. What's your deal?
Yeah. You got to talk to me first.
Yeah, because you have to be serious. And if it's a true goal, if you have a serious dream to be a great fighter or to pursue something like go to Thailand and fight and train or whatever it is, I don't care. You have to train for it. You have to push yourself through it. You got to become physically and mentally tougher to deal with the just everyday bumps, bruises, strains that come with training. You'll be able to work through it and suck it up.
Yeah, well, there you go. Some great last words. Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up. Embrace the grind. Enjoy the struggle. All right, so, hey, we have a couple things going on, but we had Ryan Murray in with us today.
Woo!
Hi.
our Thai boxing coach and instructor extraordinaire, and also instructor of the year, Muay Thai. Yeah, coach of the year. So that was awesome. So hey, remember to look us up on iTunes, 5-star us, and all the stuff that you can, and to get fancy with it.
Yeah, go ahead and you can tweet at us at MMA Combat Zone, and like our Facebook page at Minnesota Martial Arts Academy. And if it's on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and share the podcast, and then let us know what you think. You can leave a comment, or if you see us in person, definitely talk to us about it. All right, signing off. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Later.